I've selected you as a lead hunter for this expedition.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another SAC Reviews, and today we are looking at Monster Hunter Wilds for the PC, PlayStation 5 and Xbox, with all footage here captured on PS5 in performance mode. From the developers at Capcom, Wilds is the latest entry in the Monster Hunter series, which has been going on for about 2 decades now, with Wilds being the 27th in the franchise. Now, Monster Hunter is a series I hold near and dear to my heart. While I haven't played every single game, I've played a lot of them, including the original back on the PS2, you know, back in the dark ages when you attacked by moving the right analog stick. Yeah, we really lived that way back then. It was actually awful. But rocky starts aside, it's a series I've grown to love through its console origins to its handheld purgatory, all the way back to its console return. So cards on the table up front for this review. These games are my games. I am the target audience, so take with that what you will, but just know that it's not all going to be praise here. While there isn't exactly a story, so there's nothing to spoil on that front, I will be showing some monsters that haven't been in any of the marketing yet. I am leaving out a few, as I feel there'll be nice surprises for fans when they play the game for themselves. But there will be some endgame footage in this review, so there's your spoiler warning if you consider that a spoiler. The story of Monster Hunter Wilds is an interesting one. Not to say that it's an interesting story, but the actual campaign and plot of Monster Hunter games they're all very basic. But here it feels like they tried a little bit harder than they normally do in the story department. A group of explorers are doing research on the wildlife of new parts of the world when they come across a young boy in the desert named Nata, who claims to be part of an ancient civilization known as the Keepers, who have been attacked by a monster they're calling the White Wraith, and so the expedition summon you, the hunter, to help assist them on their new mission of helping Nata find his people, stopping the White Wraith, and researching the wildlife of the land along the way. And by researching, I mean hitting it with a 6-foot greatsword repeatedly until it's dead. All very paper-thin, basic plot stuff, but as anyone who's played the series before will tell you, the story's the last thing you should worry about. You don't come to a Monster Hunter game for the story. You're here to fight giant beasts, craft bigger and better gear out of the resources you get from them, and have fun with your friends and the community online in general along the way. If you've never played a Monster Hunter game before, while you can start on absolutely any of them, I'd say Wilds is a perfect starting off point for a new player. Monster Hunter Wilds isn't a game that you just pick up, beat the story, and then never touch again. Wilds is a game that doesn't have an end, and one that doesn't even really start until the credits have rolled. Throughout the campaign, you'll have the option to do side quests for NPCs in your camp, or missions from the assignment board. You can fight the same monsters again and again to get their resources, to get the new weapon or piece of armour that you're after. But there's certain mechanics, like capturing monsters, that isn't even introduced to the game until after you've already quote-unquote beaten it. And also here is a fully seamless open world. For the first time in the franchise's history, you can just leave the camp at any time, head out into the world, going from biome to biome, and just see what happens. And with 0 loading screens between these biomes, it's really impressive, especially given the size of this world. I mean, it's huge, with desert biomes, ice, jungle. There's a lot of variety on display here, and with the sheer scale of it all, it would take far too long to travel if it wasn't for the newly introduced secret mounts. And as always, the game can be played completely solo or online, be it with friends or the always crazy active community. Having said all of that though, the overall content that's here right now at launch isn't fantastic. While the monsters are, as always, really fun to fight, with some cool and unique designs, with plenty of other things to do like fishing, catching wildlife, or as I said, just going out and exploring the open world and seeing what happens, the overall number, variety and difficulty in general is lacking a bit here. I beat the main campaign and had the credits roll within 16 hours, and that was with a bit of side questing and exploring along the way. I'm now on that post-game grind, and having killed everything there is to kill right now, I've only died once the entire time. The game is really that easy, and that death was from one of those insta-kill unless you do a specific thing attacks that I hadn't seen before, and once I knew what to do, it never happened again. But if, like me, this isn't your first hunt, you know the game is just beginning here at launch. There'll be many more monsters added over time, with new challenges, and once they bring in the G-ranked missions, myself and everyone that's been claiming the game is too easy will all be crying like when we fought Fatalis for the 100th time all over again. The gameplay is very basic, but if it isn't broken, don't fix it. With light and heavy heavy attacks, basic combos, summoning mounts, riding monsters. It's all stuff that's been in the franchise before, and it still works. The swing of your weapon feels natural, you get just the right amount of air you feel you should from jumps. It all flows very smoothly. Granted, even with 14 different weapons to choose from, I played exclusively with a greatsword, as I've been a greatsword main for several games now, so while I can't personally comment on the other weapons, from what my friends who are Insect Glaive and Switch Axe mains tell me, it's pretty much the same thing all round, just nice and smooth and tight as ever. There are a few changes and new additions here in Wilds though. The biggest addition for me in terms of gameplay is the new wound system. So when you're fighting a monster, you'll now wound them, and with a targeted strike, you can break the wounds, and it's another way of not only bringing the monsters down, but also getting additional resources. I didn't really use this too much at first, but by the end game, I realised just how versatile and important it was to get those staggers on the bigger and harder fights. Then there's also some change-ups, like with the secrets. These are our new mounts, and in my opinion, they're a big step up from the Palamutes of Rise. While unlike the Palamutes, the secrets don't attack alongside you, their movement feels so much better, and they've also added the bonus of mounted combat, which on certain fights was what sealed me the victory. But above everything, the best part about them is their second weapon slot. I can't emphasise enough how much of a game changer this was, being able to have the option of swapping out your weapon mid-fight. I remember at one point going straight from one fight into a cutscene, only to be launched straight into another fight without having time to change my build, where in the first fight I had my trusty fire sword, but the second opened up and I was against fire-based monsters. Now, in previous games that would be it, but here I was able to call my secret, change over to my secondary poison sword, and immediately get back in the fight. This is just a feature I don't think I'll ever be able to live without in a Monster Hunter game again. Visually, Capcom don't try to go above and beyond with hyper-realism, but instead focus on what I've always said trumps fidelity, and that is art direction. Some of the designs for the new monsters are not only fantastic, but they're just simple. Like, what if there was a giant tar octopus made of fire? What if there was a wyvern with chain-like whips on its wings? What if there was a damn great ape that was mixed with a hippo? And while the art direction is clearly what the game prioritises here, some of the vistas and landscapes, they still look absolutely stunning. And the cinematic cutscenes really do step it up a notch here, with some great atmosphere and cinematography. And as I said, playing this in performance mode, without losing much to any of that visual quality, the frame rate was perfect throughout. With not a single drop my entire time playing, not a single server disconnect, overall performance-wise, this was the best and smoothest gaming experience I've had in recent memory. The audio department does a damn good job too. While you don't get the unique blows and impact sounds you do in other games like KCD2, which we looked at recently, the sounds, as always in Monster Hunter, they're just satisfying. The sound of breaking off a monster's tail, the little mews of the palicos, all of the variations in noises the monsters make, and don't even get me started on some of the scores. It's all really well done. The only area I'd say it falls short on is, you guessed it, the voice acting. Now, this isn't a big deal, as like I've already said, you aren't playing this game for the story, but it is still a bit disappointing, as this is the first game in the series where you aren't a silent protagonist. Yeah, you actually have a voice in this, and don't get me wrong, it's not like they did a bad job or anything, it's just flat.
How did you end up in that situation back there?
And while I can't personally knock the game for it, I do need to bring it up, as the fact that Capcom wanted to do something different here and actually try with a story, actually give your hunter a voice. It's one of the few areas of this game that I feel they really could have done a bit better with. Right now, we just need more content. We need more monsters, more gear, more of a challenge to keep us coming back, which is definitely on the horizon, it's just a matter of when. To put things into perspective for newcomers, Wilds has a total of 29 large monsters for you to hunt, with 20 of them being new additions to the roster, whereas when Monster Hunter World came out 7 years ago, that game launched with 37 monsters, and over years of updates and an expansion pack, that number grew to almost 100, topping off at 94 total large monsters to fight. So yes, it It may not be here now, but new content will be coming, and there is hopefully going to be a lot of it. But it just feels like right now this is a bit of a step backwards when several years ago we got so much more at launch than what's on offer here today. All in all, Monster Hunter Wilds is, to put it bluntly, another great Monster Hunter game. If you like this franchise, you're going to love this game. If you don't, this won't be the one that turns you, but if you've been interested in the series before but you've never quite made that plunge, I think Wilds is a really good starting off point due to all the new features available and the general ease of difficulty in this initial launch lineup of fights. While I don't think I'll quite be reaching the 1200 hour mark that I had on Monster Hunter World, I will definitely be keeping up my grind and regularly coming back for updates on this game, joining in on new hunts and fights with monsters with my friends. The grind is addictive, the game plays beautifully, the community as always is active as hell already just after a couple days, but it just needs a bit more. A few more fights, a few more monsters, and I think I would have been fully satisfied giving this max marks here on release. That's why I'm giving Monster Hunter Wilds a 4 out of 5. Have you played Monster Hunter Wilds yet? If so, what did you think of it? What was your favourite monster in the new lineup? Let us know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching.